sort of technologies that are available here in Shenzhen. So we heard David Lee explaining how Shenzhen essentially has given us low-cost phones throughout the world now, thanks to this Shanghai approach. What else can we invent, develop together that would change the world equally in terms of sensors that could be made with their technologies? Okay, so it's an open brainstorming. Each table, it's a little bit competitive. You know, we want to see who comes up with the best idea.
To analyzing
okay, so that's
ALS and then possibly Parkinson's as well, but mainly ALS.
Can you tell everyone what ALS is?
ALS is amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, and it's a progressive lower motor neuron disease, and it's incurable. We have absolutely zero treatments for it, and once it fully hits and it's fully clear what you have, it's game over. So in order to really make an impact on this, we have to have early detection of it, and then try some treatments against it, and then see what works. So in order to do that, you've got to seed the population with a large number of sensors, and then get back the data, and then find out people who actually got the disease, and then figure out of their earlier signal patterns which ones were indicative of the likelihood of going on to get the full-scale disease. So our approach is to, we want to over-sensorize the individuals. We want to put a sensor on both ankles and then both arms, and then have it Bluetooth connect. Oh, let's get the.
We've got our engineers that are working on it.
Don't tell too much, otherwise another table will go ahead.
Coordinated motion detection. We have to see the population in a large number, and then get back the data, analyze it, and then translate it.
Great, thank you. Bravo, table one. Table two. Your spokesperson.
Shall I pitch? Okay. Okay. So what we are trying to do is work on. Is it working?
I think we don't need it.
Okay.
Sure.
So we are trying to work on noise pollution mostly and light pollution to some extent. So the idea was how to tackle noise pollution and light pollution. And what we thought is that noise pollution and light pollution impact people's quality of life. So you basically don't sleep at night, or don't sleep well, or anyway you have other kind of damages. So the idea is to develop a sort of home, a very simple sensor that you put inside your house, and it measures basically light, dark patterns in your house and quantity of noise. And the idea is that, and also it sources possibly from the internet. I'm thinking about the Chinese market here. So possibly from publicly available data, but also from your own reading AQI. Now none of this is new, but the idea is that noise, light, and AQI communicate something about quality of life. So you can measure it into an index about quality of life indoor, right? And if you do it on a large enough scale, what happens is that it becomes added value for the real estate system. So what we are thinking is that if you have this kind of measurement in all the apartments in your new shiny complex in Shenzhen, you can advertise it as having a certain amount of AQ or quality of life measured in terms of noise, light, and PM 2.5 and PM 10.
Those rich developers to fund you right off the bat.
That's the idea. That's actually the idea.
I think we've lost the sustainable development goals.
Look, anyway, so the point is that if you put these things on the outside, this won't fly, right? So if you do this kind of sensors in China, for several reasons that we all very well know, it's difficult to make this data reliably public. But if you put it on the inside of people's house and work on quality of life, then you may have a higher resolution of this data and eventually have people push for better policies because noise is traffic. Okay, so for traffic lights also you have problems with light, of course we are 2.5, by working on people's perception of how much their real estate property is actually worth. So this is the idea.
Okay, thank you, table two. Bravo.
Oh, and we use monkeys to communicate.
Monkeys?
Monkeys, so when there's too much noise, there's like the monkeys, like there's too much light, end.
Nice.
Okay, we'll get back to that at the final pitches. So table 3.
You can name the company here.
Spokesperson, yay.
Hi.
Sorry.
So we have this box full of wonderful equipment, and we try to see what all we could use over here. So we were thinking, since a mobile phone is something that obviously we all carry everywhere we go, even to the toilet, and we have it from the minute we wake up to the minute we go to bed. Well, most of us do. I'm one of those addicts. So we're trying to see how a mobile phone can be used to map and measure the environment around us, and somehow quantify that and tell us in terms of, and also map and measure our daily emotional state. Nowadays mobile phones have all sorts of sensors in them, facial sensors, gesture, tactile feedback. So maybe the mobile phone can sense through our voice, through our facial expressions, through how much pressure we put while touching the screen, what state of emotion we're in, and try and relate that emotional state with the environment around us. So does the temperature make a difference to our emotional state? Does the air pressure make a difference to our emotional state?
Yes.
Does pollution make a difference? So once you have something quantifiable where you can understand that, hey, you know what, if it's really smoggy around here, I'm really unhappy, I'm a really unhappy person, then you start looking at it, you look at the environment on an individual level. It makes you more conscious about it. So I drive a diesel car, I'm sorry, but that's a lot of pollution already. But if I'm sitting in my car and my phone is actually telling me that, hey, you're really sad because you're driving around this diesel car and you're trapped in this diesel bucket the entire day, so I'm going to be more conscious and maybe get a better, a better car which has better emission norms mapped to it. So that's the idea. So can you, gauge the environment around you, the air quality around you, and somehow understand the emotional state you're in and how you could connect it. So,
Great,
that's it.
cool.
Yeah.
Thank you, table 3. Table 4, where's the spokesperson? You need to stand up and talk. This thing goes.
So we had a lot. We were trying to brainstorm, and we also spent a lot of time playing with what we had. So at the end, thanks to the time pressure, we ended up picking one. And since it had to be Internet of Things, and they had to talk to the Internet, there are places with a lot of particles and dust, and it's very similar to the other table. I forgot the number. We were thinking of measuring basically around plants, near plants. You can measure CO2 and oxygen sensors that are here, and moisture sensors, and therefore you can get an idea of photosynthesis versus respiration, and you can evaluate the physiology of the plant and correlate it with the dust in the air. Because there are many places, for example, where we live, you clean and the next day is a lot of dust that people just see it as dirt, but when we can correlate it in how dust can affect basically physiology of the green environment around you.
Great, thank you. Table 4, come on. And table 5?
The last one.
All right. Well, we had a lot of really great ideas, but we were struggling between practicality and impact. And we went there too with the dust and the plant, but then I'm from California, so I think about water a lot, and then I also think about solar energy, and there's a mix between the two, so we decided to take the dust detection and put it on solar panels, and then have a feedback system, so the water, okay, you guys can see. Well, we get the business pattern. But yeah, that's our plan, so like remote sensing when it becomes too dusty and it's not efficient, and then water can wash
In
out.
Atacama, we have the same problem.
In
In Atacama, we're building the biggest plants for solar, and the biggest problem is that they get all dusty and then they don't do it.
There you go.
But the problem is how you clean them then.
We're going to sell you that.
There's no fun living at the
That's some synthetic biology or I don't know.
You just know the dirty.
Okay, great. Thank you, table 5. So guys, now we have a little bit less than 1 hour to actually build this thing. At least a prototype, or at least a mock-up. Okay, at least a mock-up of how that works. Do your best. You have 1 hour, and just so you get prepared, in the 3rd hour, you're going to have to make the business plan.
Safer at the same time. Now, we've all been paying a lot of attention to removing pollution from the air and from the soil, but we have overlooked the secret menace, which is noise and light that is penetrating into our homes. Now, in order for us to reduce the loudness and brightness of light and sound into our homes, we have created the Monk AI, which is our child-friendly interactive sensor that allows us to detect things such as bright lights and loud noises. Now we will cue up a brief demonstration of our sensor. You can see here the monkey's finger is up and moving around in front of his mouth to indicate a loud noise has occurred. And the lights, because it is too bright. So we can...
Quiet.
It's quiet.
Oh.
If it's too bright, then light will go. The sample rate on the sensor is very slow. It's child friendly, not too fast. Okay, and so our goal and objective is to engage with the real estate developer market in China, specifically, to bring in these sensors into homes so that we can help optimize the development of sound insulating material so that children are able to sleep well at night. That is all. Thank you very much.
Very good. Okay.
So how much you want to sell in China? How much you want to sell in China?
Judges can
I'm the
ask
sales
two
guy,
questions.
so I would like to know the retail price.
Retail price? The retail price is merely the cost of the WeoLink kit, heavily discounted from our partners at Seed Studio.
I see. Let's talk about it later.
But wait, there's more.
You get 2 free kits.
Set up steak knife.
Okay. Number 2, G3. Okay.
We have a PowerPoint.
You have a PowerPoint. You can hold up your screen.
Okay,
You got
are you
it.
holding up with the screen? Alright. Okay. With fruit. Yeah. So we came up with something really cute. It's called My Little Sensor. It's this small, cute little thing that takes a very little space on your already completely cluttered desk. So you can leave it in your desk right there, or you can put it in your car. You could have it in your home in one small little corner, and it's going to Yeah, sorry. So it's going to measure the quality of the air and the environment that you're in at that time, whether it's your car or your home or your office. And at the same time, it somehow connects up to your phone. Not this phone, this one's broken, but hopefully you have a good phone. So it connects. It works?
Yeah.
Okay, so it connects to your phone. And your phone basically, so at the same time, your phone is going to be computing data from your facial expressions, and it's going to be taking tactile feedback by how hard you're hitting the screen when you're angry and not angry. And it's also going to sense your voice. And that data from your phone, when you connect your phone to this device, it's going to measure up and it's going to tell you how your environment is relating to your everyday emotional being. So whether your environment affects your being happy or sad or angry, so that's what it's going to tell you. And it's a really impactful, a small little impactful device that can hopefully change your life and make you a happier person by telling you how to change your environment so that you're in a better state of emotional well-being.
So what instead of if we want to buy a more eco-friendly car, maybe we buy it because we want to be happier and not because we care about the environment. So it's another layer of consumer ethics. So it's a selfish. I want to be happier if the environment is good, and I want to realize it.
Exactly. So it makes you, it tells you how your environment is going to make you happy, and therefore you're more entitled to make a better environment. There you go. That's it.
Any questions from the judges? No questions?
You have to show the slide.
Okay, we're moving on to T4.
This table 4?
Table 4, yeah, that was 3, yeah?
Okay.
2, 3, 4, skip 1.
So we do care a lot about noise and light, but we care even more about the air quality and the moist and the microclimate that we have in cities. So we developed a playful tool where kids and adults, everybody that is interested in what's happening around him or her, can study how plants affect the temperature, the humidity, the CO2 levels of the urban environment. So we created a tool where you can measure those
The plant will be.
The plant well-being.
the plant well-being. You can, for example, create half a balcony full of plants and the other half full in the sun, full in dust and bad air quality. And you can study in your little forest at home how plants help make this microclimate that makes our lives in cities a more healthy place. So we can study the well-planned being, can be sent to your cell phone, so you can be sitting on your terrace with your nice glass of wine or a nice Chinese beer, and then be happy about how your tiny microclimate is helping the whole city.
They call it happy plant, sad plant.
Any questions from the judges?
No.
So what kind of seed do you think is fit? I mean, in China?
But everywhere we measure the plant, we tend to evaluate plants grow using the bat sensor, so we see if it's growing, and by the oxygen and the CO2 sensor we can extrapolate how it's doing, if it's respirating and, or doing photosynthesis, and correlate it with dust, humidity, and with plants around in the neighborhood. So if the plant is happy, it respirates and photosynthesizes, and if it also grows. If it's sad, it doesn't grow and it doesn't grow.
Nice. Good idea.
Great. Okay, we'll move on to Team 5.
I guess the judges are that.
Well, because you can see
Thank you for joining us. And you know, one of the 17 goals of the United Nations is to provide a whole world with affordable and clean energy. And the solar energy for sure is one of them. But one of the issues that concerning a lot of solar users are dust. So now we have come up with this whole system here that can solve this problem. So how about we introduce our system first?
Sure. We have right here a color sensor the wrong way up. And up here we have a dust sensor, and these are both connected to this awesome wire links. And I can control it with my phone because maybe I didn't pay my water bill that month, and so I don't have any water and I don't want it to be used. And this is connected to a motor, a water pump here.
The water pump. Yes. And this connects to the water pump, and when there is when the sensor, I mean the dust sensor and the color sensor sends a message that there is too much dust on the solar panel, they probably need to clean it. Then it links to the water. Regarding the water, we can actually use the recycling system for the water. After washing the panel, you can collect the water and then filter it. And then the water can be recycled again to be used to wash the solar panel again.
Yeah. And why does it matter? Because according to the data collected in California, in 145 days, the efficiency of the solar panel is reduced by 7.4%. What does 7.4% mean? It means in 145 days, you lose around like 10 days of the full usage of the solar energy. And it also means the profit is reduced by 7.4% to big solar companies. So our business model is that we sell this idea to the solar companies, and think about it, your like profit is boosted by 7.4%, and then we subsidize it to the personal households, and it's for free to everyone like who is using the solar panels in their own home.
Free and affordable energy.
Yeah, to everybody.
And then we're ready.
Oh yeah.
So that is our whole idea. Thank you.
Any questions from the judges?
Do you see
think that possible to use it in Africa?
In Africa, why not?
Why not?
Why not? So if we want to sell in Africa, or we say maybe donate to Africa, do you have any plan, business plan? Since like you talk about business.
Yeah, this is we just get the money from big corporations, like whenever like those Chinese government like corporations. Yeah, and that is the money that we get.
We can start if you want to.
Okay, good. And last but not least, team number 1.
Okay, so we've decided to target neurological diseases and use the capabilities of motion detection built into the seed kits. And so I just want to talk about ALS. ALS is the most severe form of motor neuron disease. And there are 6,000 cases a year in the United States of people under 50. And if you go visit an elderly home, a very high fraction of people in retirement homes have really gross defects in their long motor neurons. So the idea is that if we had early detection of the signs and symptoms of motor neuron disease, then we would be able to find little signals in the differential motions that could reveal the beginning of the onset of the disease. So, and we can identify individuals who have a high genetic risk of it, and so in families where it happens, then there's a very high, they tend to be dominant diseases, and so, or dominant gene effects. And so the idea of then detecting a therapeutic agent acting on the disease requires that we get that early signal and be able to trace in a daily way what the signal is. So getting this high resolution analysis, the signs and symptoms are going to vary by individual and by the time of day and by the specific disease of that individual. So once you identify the pattern in that individual, then you can personalize the therapeutic treatment that could help them, and then you could crowdsource an analysis of trying different treatments like ginseng agent or tai chi or a combination of adrenergics and other things that could be useful for an individual disease. Anyway, so that we want to get detection then of this, and there's a huge amount of money pouring into neurological diseases, particularly in China is making a huge investment in that. It's also huge in the United States, and so the sooner we can really crowdsource the detection of neurological disease onset and then ability to try therapies, the sooner we can really wrestle with this. So
the prototype is this one. So there is a cable because we have no enough time to charge the battery, and we have the display here to show you the accelerometer. It's reading actually data, but it's not needed. So the system will be based on a little network to carry on your body. So you will carry 2 bracelets on your arm and 2 bracelets on your leg in order to collect all the all the data points with the accelerators.
The idea is that in different people, the loss of coordination, the ability to move different parts is affected differently, and here we're going to over-detect it and then figure out which of the downs, we can downsample the detectors and figure out what's the minimal amount of data that would need to be collected per individual to find the disease.
Yes, and the system then is also finished with a central unit that can be your mobile phone that collects all the data via Bluetooth, or another device, for example, an Arduino with a Bluetooth that you can carry on. And the feasibility of the prototype. So the prototype is not working right now, so there is no connection between all the pieces. But we have at least using the reform kit one sensor that is reading movement and data. So the feasibility, in our opinion, is possible because you know that there are many accessory like the jawbone, like the Fitbit things
that essentially have the same technology. What we have to develop is a central unit that collects all the data real time from the sensor, and there is a little issue, a technical issue also to solve, that is the real time clock. That because every sensors need to be every sensor need to be collected at the same time precisely in order to have a better understanding of what is happening.
So, so we think that the 3-axis accelerometer is adequate for this disease, but if we then use the 6-axis detector, it'll be capable of finding Parkinson's disease symptoms as well. So then that expands the market to another 10-fold. And then the way the structure of the data is going to be, you get the 6 axes from the 4 different places and time series. So then that whole matrix then is a time series matrix that then can be Fourier transformed and then find the signal features which are disease indicative and therapeutic effect indicative.
Okay, thank you.
Questions?
Are there questions? Questions? Any questions?
No, because we discussed about the technical issue before.
So,
Everybody talk about business, man.
The biggest buyer is the insurance company, right?
No, well, we would see the biggest buyer as being the Shanghai municipal government, for example. We would want to get the cost down to say 25 RMB, 250 RMB per unit. That trend for 10 million RMB, you could deploy 40,000 targeted subjects, 1% who develop neurological diseases in 5 years. That gives you 400 people, and that would be a really profound demonstration of the Shanghai government of it caring about the neurological diseases of the Chinese people.
Yes.
5% of the Chinese people are developing neurological diseases, and so it's pennies, and it could be amazing.
We think it's actually the perfect platform for detecting, ancient Chinese therapeutics.
No, we could redo it.
We have to go in 5 minutes. So here's the deal. Our hosts have been wonderful. Please try to tidy up a bit, like, garbage and stuff. Please, let's make a little bit of tidy. They'll take care of the rest. You don't have to put everything away. And meanwhile, the judges will confer to decide, what the prizes are.
You gotta get that
Before you leave, so we had, this was a hackathon, so the first hour was brainstorming, second hour building, and the third hour putting together their business plans, and they pitched their business plans 3 minutes each, and the judges were 4 of our engineers from Seed Studio who had given up their Saturday afternoon to be with us and help us out, as well as David Lee, and they voted on 3 categories, 1 to 10 on how practical the device was, how impactful it was, and how cool it was. And I'm here to announce now the list. I've totally open data here. I'm going to share all the results, I was on Team 5, and frankly, I thought that this was really amazing. This was really fantastic, and I would invest in it, but I wasn't a judge, apparently. So I'm here to announce that in first place was Team 1. And very close for second place, but just ahead was Team 4. Sorry, Team 2. Pardon me. Right? And followed by Team 3, Team 4, and Team 5. Thank you very much. Thank you. By the way, thanks very much to G for organizing this, and Lupin, of course, who was the brain.